All right. So in the last class, we started with high frequency analysis. Okay. In high frequency analysis, there are two types of analysis, wherein we use those analysis to find out FH, the corner frequency of your amplifier. Okay. If you take any typical common source amplifier, okay, it acts in it generally behaves as a low pass filter. Okay, so up to some particular frequency you have your gain to be stable. Okay, that gain you call it as AM, mid-band gain. But after some particular frequency your gain starts to degrade. Okay, that frequency you call it as 3 dB frequency or corner frequency or cutoff frequency, right? So it's also denoted by FH or omega H or F3 dB. Okay, these are the three notations for this corner frequency. Uh, for this, there are two methods. One is the Miller's method, wherein the CGD, the capacitance between the gate and drain, okay, is removed, and instead of that, we add two capacitances, okay, to separate the input side and the output side. All right. The second one is uh, open circuit time constant, open circuit time constant method, wherein what we do is we consider each of those capacitances at one time, uh, right? For that capacitance, you find out what is the time constant. Tau is equal to RC. For the other, next you consider another capacitance, you find out tau for that. Okay, tau is equal to RC. Another capacitance, same, find out the time constant. Then you add these three or four time constants, you will get one single time constant. That will give you that. If you take inverse of that, that will give you the cutoff frequency, right? So just to briefly recap, the circuit diagram which we have drawn earlier, okay, the last class, right? That was this plus minus V signal. This was grounded. Then you have R signal. Then you have CS, CGS, sorry, CGS. This is plus minus VGS. This is CGD. Okay, drain capacitance, gate drain capacitance. Then here I had my dependent source. This is ground. This is GM into VGS. Then I had a resistance here, RL prime. Okay, where RL prime is R naught parallel RL. Okay, then I had a capacitance CL here. Okay, and this is finally V naught. Okay, that is finally V naught. So here a CL is the capacitance between the drain and the substrate, okay, or drain and the ground, and it is also the capacitance, it is also the input capacitance for the next stage. Okay, remember this amplifier which you use, they are generally in cascaded stages, right? So CL here represents two capacitances. One is the drain to ground capacitance, and the other one is the input capacitance of the next stage, right? So while using Miller's theorem for this, okay, Miller's theorem method. Okay, I'll write Miller's theorem method. So for this, right, this circuit diagram I have slightly changed it. V signal, ground, R signal, then you had CGS here, and here you had another capacitance replacing that CGD. I call this as CGD into 1 plus GM into RL prime. Okay, so here you had the dependent source, GM VGS. Then here you have prime, RL prime. Then here you have CL prime, CL prime. Right. So for this, we generally look at this part of the circuit. Right. So here, if you see, okay, if I call this as C in, right? C in here is the parallel combination of capacitances CGS and CGD into 1 plus GM into RL, right? This is actually input Miller capacitance, input Miller capacitance, okay, and it is actually of the form CGD into 1 minus AV, okay, and A minus AV is where AV is minus GM into RL prime, okay, GM into RL prime, right? So that is what this is, and if you look at V signal, R signal, and C in, okay, they form a low pass filter, right? So for that low pass filter, the time constant is tau is equal to R signal into C in, okay. And now if I know tau, from this I can calculate FH, which is 1 by 2 pi tau, where it is 1 by 2 pi into R signal and C in. Okay, so this is what we derived in the last class, right? And since it is okay, since it is a low pass filter, it has a transfer function. Okay, a transfer function of the form transfer function. Okay, V naught by V signal. Okay, it is of this form, AM divided by 1 plus S by omega H. Okay, this is the transfer signal where AM is the midband gain. Okay, so in this case, AM is minus GM into RL prime. Okay, this is the transfer function of the signal of the circuit. Right. So till here we have seen. Okay. Further on, from this we move on to open circuit time constant. Okay, that one is a little I should say tricky. Why? Because you will be employing some nodal analysis there. Okay, so kindly pay attention there. It becomes quite tricky. Right. So let us first let me copy this again. So we might need this again. So I'll copy this. Copy. Paste. Okay. So now I'll perform open circuit time constant method. Open circuit time constant method. Okay. All right. Anyway. Right. So first, what we'll do is here I have three capacitances. Okay, CGS, CGD, and CL. Okay. So what I do now is I will consider, say for example, I will consider CGS now. Okay, I will consider CGS open circuit, or else completely disregard CGD and CGL. find out time constant with respect to CGS. Okay, so the first step. Okay, first step. Consider CGS. Okay, and when you are considering CGS, you have to make sure that you don't apply any V signal there. You don't apply any input. Okay, consider CGS and uh, make source 0. Make source equal to 0. Okay, source here is V signal, right? So what do you get? So the circuit diagram, it turns out very simple. Okay, one here V signal is 0. Okay, I've shorted it. Now I have R signal here, right? Then here I have a capacitance CGS. Okay, so here if I measure RGS, okay, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to find out the time constant with respect to CGS only. So I have to find out what is the, when I make voltage signal 0, what is the equivalent resistance or impedance between points, between the terminals of CGS. That is what I'm trying to do. See, remember, when you're, if you go back to your network analysis, all those theorems, right? When you're finding output impedance, what do? You make your source 0, right? If it is a current source, you make it open circuit. If it is a voltage source, you short it, right? So that is what I'm doing here. Here, I'm considering CGS to be there, but I'm disregarding CGD and CL. Okay, so the impedance across CGS would be like this, right? Right. So here RGS, if I see in this way, it is equal to RN, right? RGS here indicates, I'll make a note here, note, RGS is the impedance seen across not RL, CGS. Okay. Remember here, if I extend this, here will be our actual CGS. So I am finding out what is the impedance here. Okay, that is what I'm doing. Now I know RGS is Rn, so from this I can get tau GS as RGS into CGS. Therefore, tau GS is equal to Rn into CGS. Okay, so I'll call this as equation 1. Okay, clear? This part is clear. I have considered CGS and I have open circuited CGD and CL, right? In my main circuit, I can see only 3 capacitances. So I am considering 1 capacitance at each time. Okay, now first I have considered CGS. I have made CGD and CL as open circuits, right? And I'm finding what is the impedance seen across CGS, right? So that will be equal to R signal provided source is 0. Okay. Now second case. In the second case, what I do is I consider CGD and make source 0 and make source equal to 0, right? Then how will my circuit diagram change? Okay, I have no V signal here, so it is completely shorted. R signal will be there. Okay, here you will not have CGS because CGS is open circuited, right? So to find out what is the impedance seen across CGD, what I'll do is I'll replace it with a current source. Okay, say some current Ix is flowing through it and some voltage Vx is applied across it. Okay, then here you have your dependent source Gm into VGS, then I have RL prime. Okay, RL prime. This is nothing but R naught parallel RL. Okay, these 2 points. Okay, now here what I have to do is I have to find what is actually here I have to find what is Vx by Ix. Okay, that is what will give me RGD, and when I multiply RGD with CGD, that will give me tau GD. Okay, so this is my idea here. So when I find out what is Vx and what is Ix and I divide them, okay, I will get RGD. Okay, the impedance across seen across the capacitance CGD. All right. So first here I think you'll start using nodal analysis. Okay, so I'll call this as node A. I'll call this as node B. Okay. Now at node A, okay, node A, nodal analysis at A. Nodal analysis at A. Right. So here, so the voltage which you see here, okay, that is actually VGS. Remember, the capacitor is removed, but there will be a voltage difference, right, between these 2 points. Look at this. Here you have here between this point and this point, it is VGS. So that same VGS will be here, right? So voltage at point A will be VGS. So VGS minus 0 divided by R signal, right, plus Ix equal to 0. Okay, plus Ix equal to 0. Remember, both the currents sorry, remember both the currents are in the same direction, right? So sorry, so VGS minus 0, that is your ground, divided by R signal, plus Ix equal to 0. Next, from this you can write VGS as minus Ix into R signal. Okay. Now the same thing at point B I will take nodal analysis at point B. So nodal analysis at point B. Okay. So here what will you get? Simple. Here Ix before that point the voltage seen at point B. Okay. That is actually 2 voltages which you see. One is Vx and the other one is VGS. So total voltage at point B would be VGS plus Vx. Okay, voltage at point B is VGS, this voltage, plus this voltage Vx. And if you look at the polarity, they are additive. Okay, both these voltages are additive. They don't subtract from each other. Right. So here I'll write VGS plus Vx divided by RL prime. Okay, I'm taking this wing. Okay, this wing plus GM into VGS. Okay, it is a current source anyway, right? Is equal to Ix. Okay, KCL, because Ix is getting split into 2 currents here. One is GM VGS and the other current is whatever current is flowing through RL prime. The current which is flowing through RL prime is VGS plus Vx by RL prime. So this current plus this current equals to this current, right? Alright, so from this I get another equation. Now what I do is I substitute this in this equation. I substitute VGS here, so I'll get Ix is equal to minus GM Ix R signal minus gm ix R signal plus Vx minus Ix R signal divided by RL prime. Okay, I have substituted VGS is equal to minus Ix into R signal in the nodal equation of point B. Okay, so from this, I'll write it in a new page. Better. So Ix is equal to uh, minus Gm into Ix R signal plus Vx minus Ix R signal divided by RL prime. Right. So standard maths here. So Ix into RL prime is equal to minus Gm Ix R signal RL prime plus Vx minus Ix R signal. Okay. From this, I have to find Vx by Ix. So I take all Ix to the left side. So Ix into RL prime plus Gm RL prime R signal, not bracket, plus R signal is equal to Vx. So from this, Vx by Ix is actually RGD, okay, is equal to RL prime plus R signal into 1 plus Gm RL prime. Okay, so this is what RGD is now. Okay, so from this, now you have found out what is RGD. So now tau GD, therefore tau GD is RGD into CGD, where RGD is this. Okay, so this is my second equation. I'll write it clearly here. So tau GD is equal to CGD into RL prime plus R signal into 1 plus Gm RL prime. Okay, so this is equation 2. Okay, this is the second equation, tau GD. Now the third point is, the final one is, see, if you look at the main figure, okay, I have considered now CGS is done, CGD is done. The only thing which is left out is CL. Okay, now I have to consider CL and short my source. Okay, so second one, third one, consider CL and make source is equal to 0. Source here, in the sense, remember, it is V signal equal to 0, right? So what you get, if you redraw the diagram, no V signal is 0, you have R signal, right, which is completely isolated because CGS and CGD both are open circuited. So this is dependent source Gm into VGS, then you have RL prime. Your supposed CL prime will be actually here. CL will be here actually, right? But we find out what is the total impedance seen across CL. So I will call that as RCL. So when you look in this direction, RCL is only one resistance, that is RL prime, right? Therefore, tau CL is equal to CL into RCL is equal to CL into RL prime. So this is the third equation. Okay, clear till here, right? That is the third equation. Now, first equation is we have derived tau GS. Second equation tau GD. Third equation tau CL. Therefore, tau H, I will call it as tau H, is tau GS plus tau GD plus tau CL. Alright. So, and omega H is 1 by tau H, which is FH is equal to 1 by 2 pi tau H. Therefore, if you write the final equation of FH, right? So FH here is 1 by, you get a huge equation, 2 pi into one is CGS into R signal plus CL into RL prime plus next one is CGD into RL prime plus R signal into 1 plus GM RL prime. Okay, this is a huge equation which you get. Okay, this is all theory, of course, right? When you get problems, don't try and by heart this equation. You of course will not remember. It's very tough to by heart this equation, but it's rather simple. You remember how to derive this equation. So if you know how to derive this equation, the same steps you follow for your problems also. But instead of having CL, RL prime or CGD or R signal, you will have values. When you have values, all you have to do is substitute those values and you will straight away get FH. Okay. So this is open circuit time constant. Okay. So we'll do one problem based on this and we'll wind up our class today. Any queries still here? Any queries? In the textbook provided, there is another method called exact analysis. Okay, exact analysis is you will not, you will not make any assumptions. For this figure you see here. Okay, for the high frequency model, high frequency small signal model, you will directly use nodal analysis. Okay, and from that you get a very huge equation. But it's not a part of your syllabus. Okay, there are actually three methods to do this. One is the Miller's theorem method. Second one is this open circuit time constant method, and the third one is the exact analysis. The FH value will be accurate there, but in your syllabus it is not given. Okay, you have only two methods of analysis. Okay, Miller's theorem and open circuit time constant. All right. So we'll do a small problem based on this and then we'll wind up. I hope there are no queries here. Well, all right. Okay, so question. The circuit is this VDD. This circuit we have already seen. This is IREF. This is CMOS implementation of common source amplifier. Then this gate and drain are shorted. This is VI, V0, this is VDD. Okay, so this is Q2, Q1, Q3. Okay, so for this, the given data is width length ratio. Aspect ratio is 7.2 divided by 0.36. Kn prime is 387 microamps per volt square. Kp prime is 86 microamp per volt square. I reference is 100 microamps. VA for NMOS is 5 volts per micrometer. VA mod VA prime for PMOS is 6 volts per micrometer, right? And for Q1 transistor, okay, that the transistor which actually behaves as the amplifier, right? CGS is 20 femtofarads. CGD is 5 femtofarads. CL is 25 femtofarads, right? And R signal is 10 kilo ohms. It's 10 kilo ohms, right? So what is asked here? Find the value of, okay, find the value of FH using Miller's method. And the second one is open circuit time constant method. Open circuit time constant method. Okay. Why it is done like this is just to know the difference. Okay. Which figure is, which method provides better answer, right? So solution. Okay, so when given a problem like this, first always draw the high frequency model. Okay, so V signal, this is R signal, CGS, then CGD. Always draw the diagram so that you understand. Then GM-VGS, then RL prime. Okay, here RL prime, I'll tell you what is RL prime, and here you have CL prime. Okay, now in the earlier diagram which we saw, we wrote RL prime as R naught parallel RL, right? But here in this case, if you look at this diagram, okay, Q2 will have a R naught 2 as its dynamic resistance. Q1 will have R naught 1 as its dynamic resistance. So when I take gain of Q1, it is actually minus GM into R naught 1 parallel R naught 2. Okay, see, remember, if this is active load, right? So in earlier we had RD here. Okay, we had RD at Q2. So gain became R naught parallel minus GM into R naught parallel RD parallel whatever load resistance was there, right? But this time I don't have any load resistance, but instead of RD I have Q2. So here you will not have RL, rather you will have R naught 2. Okay, so this will not be there. So this will be R naught 1 parallel R naught 2. Okay, that is why you always have to draw the diagram once you start your problem. always draw the AC equivalent diagram. Then from there onwards, you proceed on. Okay. Now let me find ID. ID is the current flowing through MOSFET Q1. Okay, ID1. That is same as I reference. Correct? It is same as, since it is in no saturation. Q1 is in saturation. So I can straight away use this W by L into VOV1 whole square. Okay, VOV1 is VGS minus VT, right? So from this I reference, I already know it is 100 micro is equal to half into Kn prime is 387 micro into W by L is 7.2 divided by 0.36 into VOV 1 square. Okay, so if you solve this, VOV 1 will actually give 0.16 volts. Alright, so why I need VOV? To calculate GM. Right, so GM here is Kn prime, W by L and VOV. Right, so substitute the values 387 micro into 7.2 divided by 0.36 into 0.16. Okay, so GM will give 1.24 milliamperes per voltage. Okay, so from this, this is GM. I'm going to calculate gain now from this. Okay, what is R01? R01 here is VAN divided by I reference or ID. Okay, I think it's better if I write ID. And ID is same as I reference, so no, not an issue. But this is VA prime is given. Okay, and it is volts per micrometer. So for VAN it is 5 into 0.36 length of the transistor divided by 100 micro. So this should give me 18 kilo ohms. Similarly, R02 is mod VAP divided by ID. I call this ID1 and ID2. So this is 6 into 0.36 divided by 100 micro. So that will actually give me 21.6 kilo ohms. Alright. So if I calculate gain now, voltage gain, that becomes minus GM into R01 parallel R02. Right. So but I have to find FH now. Right. So for finding FH, I need RL prime, which is R01 parallel R02. So this will actually give me 9.82 kilo ohms. Try and solve it on your own. Okay, it is 18 kilo ohms parallel 21.6 kilo ohms. So you get 9.82 kilo ohms. Next, using Miller's theorem, using Miller's method. Miller's method. Okay. What we get is FH is equal to 1 by 2 pi R signal into Cin, where Cin is CGS plus CGD into 1 plus GM into RL prime. Remember this. Okay. So from this Cn value I can find out. Cn is CGS. CGS is how much? 20 femtofarads. CGD was 5 femtofarads into 1 plus GM is 1.24 milli. RL prime is 9.82 kilo. Right. So from this Cn you can find it out as 86.5 femtofarads. Therefore FH is 1 by 2 pi into R signal. R signal is 10 kilo into 86.5 femto. So this will actually give me 184 megahertz. 184 megahertz. Okay, so using Miller's theorem, my FH was 184 megahertz. Now let us look at open circuit time constant. Okay, using open circuit time constant method. Right, using open circuit time constant method. Right, so here remember I have to find out tau gs, tau gd and tau cl. Right, for that I have to find rgs, which is same as R signal, which is 10 kilo ohms. Okay, now therefore tau gs here is cgs into rgs. Okay, so cgs is much cgs 20 femto into 10 kilo. Okay, so this is 200 picoseconds. Okay, now rgd. Okay, now this was a huge formula, so I think we got RL prime plus R signal into 1 plus GM into RL prime. Okay, substitute all the values here. Okay, you should get this as 142.8 kilo ohms. Okay, try solving this problem on your own. Okay, so tau RGD is this, therefore tau GD is CGD into RGD, which is 5 femto into RGD is 142.8 kilo. Okay, so tau GD is somewhere around 714 picoseconds. This one. Next, RCL is same as RL prime. Okay, so that is 9.82 kilo ohms. Okay, therefore tau CL is RCL into CL. RCL is how much? 9.82 kilo into CL. CL is 25 femto. So that will turn out to be 246 picoseconds. So now tau H is tau GS plus tau GD plus tau CL. Okay, so adding all of them, you should get 1160 picoseconds. Okay, therefore FH now. FH here is 1 by 2 pi into tau H is 1 by 2 pi into 1160 pico. Okay, so this will actually turn out to be 137 megahertz. Okay, 137 megahertz. Right, so while you know compare both of them, okay, they're almost same, right? In the case of Miller's capacitance, Miller's method, you got the value of tau H as 138 megahertz, 184 megahertz, 184 megahertz. Whereas using open circuit time constant, you got the value as 137 megahertz, right? There is a considerable difference between the both of them, all right? That is why you need the third analysis, exact analysis, but it's not there in your syllabus. But if you actually, if you look at the textbook, after applying the exact analysis to this, we get FH using exact analysis as 138, somewhere around 138 megahertz, right? So that makes no, obtaining FH through open circuit time constant is a little bit more accurate compared to no, Miller's method. All right. Okay. Any doubts still here? Any queries still here?